Today I am in Iximché, which means corn tree, I believe. There are fewer than 200 structures here. They've got temples, they've got ball courts, there's some residential areas. It's organized into multiple plazas, I think 4, Plaza A, B, C, and D. At the peak of this place, there were about 10,000 people living here. So believe it or not, the facts, the figures, the structures, none of those things are why I'm here today. I'm here today because I want to be in the room where it happened. And this is the room where it happened. This was the point of no return.
Iximché is a fascinating archaeological site located in Guatemala's highlands near the town of Tecpán. As the ancient capital of the Kaqchikel Mayans, it holds deep historical and cultural significance. Tecpán itself isn't a bustling tourist hub, but its proximity to popular destinations like Guatemala City, Antigua, and Panajachel makes Iximché an accessible and worthwhile day trip. The journey through the winding mountain roads is scenic, offering beautiful views of the highlands. The site spans only about 6 square miles, and it is situated on flat terrain, making it easily traversable. Unlike Tikal, Iximché does not feature towering structures, but its historical weight and intricate design is still impressive. Upon arrival, I highly recommend to visit the small museum at the entrance. It provides a concise overview of Iximché's history, displays a collection of artifacts unearthed from the site, and features a detailed scale model that helps bring the ruins to life. Whether traveling by private car, a guided tour, or even a colorful chicken bus, the experience of exploring Iximché offers a unique glimpse into Guatemala's vibrant past and living Mayan heritage.
Unlike Communal Huyu and Tikal, which lasted for centuries and had little to no contact with the Spanish, Iximché had a great deal of contact with the Spanish, and for that reason, it lasted for less than a century. The Kaqchikel people flourished here in their capital from exactly 1470 to 1524. That is 54 years, so about half of a century. And that's why I'm here. That short time span is what makes this place incredibly interesting. Everything that happened here reminds me of the Mel Gibson film Apocalypto. Apocalypto is about the Mayan civilization, and there are tons of inaccuracies in that film, historically anyway, but it's still worth watching, especially because of the similarities to this place. So in the film, there are protagonists and antagonists. And the protagonists are the people who are strong and capable of fighting, yet they are a little bit more peaceful. At least that's how they're depicted initially. The antagonists, on the other hand, are the aggressors. They basically attack villages of Mayans, other Mayans. They collect the people that they do not kill when they attack, and they either sell them as slaves or they sacrifice them. So the protagonist Mayans get taken over by the antagonist Mayans. And this just shows that not all the Mayans got along. They were not united. They had different cities or different villages in different places. They had different customs. They spoke different languages. There's another scene at the beginning of the film where two groups of Mayans encounter each other, one of them being the protagonist Mayans, and they don't fight. And this just shows another side of the Mayans. You had people who got along with each other, and you had people who didn't. The Mayans fought each other sometimes. They made alliances other times. Either way, toss the notion that they were united as one group. So after the protagonists have been captured, they're on their way to be sold into slavery or sacrificed. And they encounter this little girl on the way. This is supposed to be foreshadowing because the little girl clearly has smallpox. The movie turns this little girl into something of a prophetess. Now, there's no smallpox in the New World until the Spanish bring it. It's also slightly anachronistic because if the Spanish are coming, then they're not here yet. So how can there be smallpox? One of the protagonist Mayans managed to escape slaughter. He is the main character of the film. And for the rest of the film, a group of antagonist Mayans are going to be chasing him, and he's going to be running for his life. At the end of the movie, there are 3 men remaining. There are 2 antagonist Mayans still chasing the one protagonist. It started off with a whole group of antagonists chasing this one protagonist Mayan, and one by one, he's just knocked them all off. So keep in mind, the protagonist is running for his life, and he gets to the beach. And there's this scene at the beach when he collapses. And the 2 guys, the antagonists that are chasing him, kind of come up behind him, catch up to him, and they're looking at him like, what are you doing? Why are you suddenly making this easy? And then they look up at the beach and they see what he sees. And everything stops. It's kind of like time just stops. So the protagonist Mayan didn't just collapse at the beach. Turns out he's in awe. And now that the antagonists have caught up to him, all 3 of them are in awe at what they see on the horizon. There are massive Spanish galleons at sea. The Mayans don't have anything like that. The Mayans have never even heard of anything like that. You get the sense that they understand that their world is changing. They understand really things have changed for forever. Nothing's going back. Nothing's going to be the same. In front of the massive Spanish galleons, you can see a small boat with Spanish passengers on it coming to shore. I love how at least one of the passengers on the boat amongst the conquistadors is a priest. The Spanish would bring their religion with them, and they would force it on the Mayan population. A huge part of the film is the antagonist Mayans sacrificing the protagonist Mayans. Now that the Spanish are here and they're forcing their religion onto the Mayan population, that won't be happening anymore. However, that didn't ever really happen like that. Yes, the Mayans sacrificed people here and there, but it was the Aztecs who sacrificed people en masse like that, not the Mayans. One of my favorite parts about the film is how at the beach, the antagonist Mayans walk toward the Spanish, still in awe, while the protagonist Mayan kind of gets his stuff together, gets up off his knees, and runs away. Well, this just shows that there were different approaches to the Spanish arrival. You had those who would fight against the Spanish, and then you had those who were going to work with the Spanish, because the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Apocalypto might be so-so historically, but cinematically, it's an incredible movie. You have got to hand it to Mel Gibson. Whether you love him or you hate him, the man knows how to tell a story. So I'm walking around Iximché talking about Apocalypto, and people are staring at me. Maybe I should try to be a normal tourist for a second.
Unlike my rushed experience at Kaqchikel, I'm savoring the infinite time I have to wander Iximché. Here, my mind is free to drift, piecing together how this place may have looked and what life might have been like in this ancient city.
The Kaqchikel Mayans were friends with the Quiche Mayans until they weren't. The Kaqchikel and the Quiche lived together until they couldn't. In 1470, the Kaqchikel broke off from the Quiche and they built Iximché. For the rest of Iximché's existence, the Kaqchikel would be fighting for their survival against both the Quiche and other rivals. So again, not all the Mayans got along.
I imagine the disagreements that perhaps even escalated to physical altercations. The people of Iximché lived with a sense of vigilance. Born from conflict, the city's origins were steeped in strife, and the threat of war must have lingered constantly. As they constructed this site, they had that in mind. Strategically perched on a plateau, the city's location was chosen for defense, with deep ravines providing natural protection. Warriors trained diligently, always prepared to defend their home. Obsidian blades, bows, and spears would have been essential tools for their arsenal.
The Kaqchikel population at Iximché was divided into groups. Each of the groups had a leader, and the leaders worked together to rule here. That worked until it didn't. Eventually, the leaders in the different groups didn't get along.
Here, leadership differed from Tikal and Communal Huyu, where royalty reigned supreme. Iximché was governed collectively. The plazas, A, B, C, and D, were each tied to a prominent family, with their leaders collaborating to guide the city. Despite the absence of a king, society was deeply stratified. Nobles wielded influence. Warriors secured the city's future. And artisans, farmers, and laborers each played their part in maintaining the community.
Not to mention, the Quiche came back and they wanted to fight the Kaqchikel again. So Iximché had enemies both internally and externally.
The odds were undeniably stacked against Iximché. Born out of a desire to forge a new path, it represented a bold departure from the past, a chance to redefine a future free from old constraints. Yet, as is often the case with human endeavors, discord quickly surfaced. Internal divisions and power struggles emerged, with leaders locked in conflict, unable to find common ground. History has shown time and time again how fragile unity can be. Even in the most promising of ventures, human nature has a way of unraveling harmony. Consider the United States. Less than a century after its founding, a nation built on ideals of freedom and unity, it was torn apart by a devastating civil war. The fate of Iximché, like so many other societies, was a reflection of humanity's enduring struggle to rise above its own divisions. Iximché didn't need any more problems, but they came anyway.
The Spanish arrived in what would become Mexico in 1519. The main conquistador was Hernán Cortés. By 1521, what would become Mexico was conquered by the Spanish. Then, Cortés looked to this space, what would become Guatemala. Hernán Cortés sent Pedro de Alvarado, the conquistador, to conquer here.
Unlike previous interactions with neighboring Mesoamerican groups, the indigenous peoples now faced a new and formidable threat, a foreign invader determined to reshape their land and way of life. Hernán Cortés, a seasoned conquistador, brought new weapons like the arquebus, cavalry, and bull mastiffs the indigenous people had never seen before. He had already perfected a divide and conquer approach in what would become Mexico, exploiting rivalries among indigenous groups to secure alliances and weaken resistance. I can envision him and Pedro de Alvarado, his trusted and ruthless right-hand man, poring over maps, plotting their next moves. They must have refined their strategy with chilling precision, aiming to replicate their success against the Aztec Empire. For the Mayans, it was not merely a battle against new weapons, but a struggle against an insidious campaign of betrayal and division. The stakes were higher than ever. The answer seemed clear as black and white: unite and fight against the Spanish together. However, life is multiple choice.
The Quiché and other Mayans chose to fight against the Spanish. The Kaqchikel at Iximché, on the other hand, sent peace emissaries to the Spanish because they wanted the Spanish to help them against the Quiché and the Zutujil. So some Mayans fought against the Spanish, and other Mayans allied with the Spanish against other Mayans, because the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
And so, the Kaqchikel leaders gathered, deliberating over their limited options. They made their choice, prioritizing the pressing challenges of the moment over the far-reaching consequences that loomed on the horizon. It's a decision as human as it is flawed, an age-old tendency to address immediate survival while setting aside the uncertainties of the future. After all, who among us hasn't done the same? Divide and conquer proved effective once again, a strategy as timeless as it is ruthless. If it worked for Julius Caesar, it would undoubtedly serve others just as well.
However, all that cozying up to the Spanish was not without consequences. It exposed the Kaqchikel population at Iximché to devastating smallpox. Now, Iximché had no choice but to work with the Spanish because they didn't have the numbers to fight against the Quiché without them.
Today, smallpox exists only within the confines of secure laboratories, a relic of humanity's past struggles with disease. But in the 16th century, it was a force of unparalleled terror, especially for indigenous populations with no natural immunity. The devastation it unleashed on Iximché stands as a grim testament to its lethal power. Unlike modern pandemics, such as COVID-19, smallpox ravaged communities with a brutality that seemed almost unstoppable. As poignantly depicted in the film Apocalypto, a young girl afflicted with a disease was shunned, pushed away with a stick as fear and desperation gripped those around her. Smallpox was not only highly contagious, but also incurable at the time, causing severe and systemic damage. It attacked the respiratory system, circulatory system, and bone marrow, often leading to secondary complications such as pneumonia, hemorrhaging, and multi-organ failure. For many, the disease ended in an excruciating death. Its impact on the indigenous world was not just a health crisis. It was another European weapon of devastation that reshaped history.
The Spanish conquest of Guatemala started in the 1520s. The Kaqchikel at Iximché, who were Mayan, helped the Spanish to conquer other groups of Mayans like the Quiche and the Zutujil. Once the Spanish conquest of Guatemala was complete, with the help of the Kaqchikel at Iximché, the Spanish would name this country Guatemala, which was the Spanish pronunciation of a Quiche word that meant place of many trees. Pedro de Alvarado made Iximché the first capital of Guatemala, which, by the way, I don't know, it feels like to me that as an American, I pronounce it Guatemala with a G, but the people here seem to pronounce it Guatemala with a W. I'm not entirely sure there, that's just what I'm hearing. But anyway, Iximché became the first of 4 capitals. The Spanish named each capital St. James of the Knights of Guatemala. Iximché became the first capital in 1524, and the Spanish would rule here for the next 300 years.
I can envision the Spanish and the Kaqchikel gathered here, celebrating what they believed to be a shared victory. The Kaqchikel, in particular, likely felt vindicated in their decision to align with the Spanish, confident that they had secured a path to prosperity and power. Amidst the revelry, they may have sat together, hatching ambitious plans to expand their influence across the rest of the country and beyond. But I can also imagine the moment of realization, the shift in the Mayan leaders' expressions when they understood the depth of the betrayal. The Spanish were never truly their allies. What began as a strategic partnership quickly unraveled into a cruel deception. The triumph they celebrated was a fleeting illusion, replaced by the cold reality of subjugation.
The Spanish then demanded tribute from Iximché, and the price of the tribute kept increasing. That led to tensions also rising. And in turn, the Spanish built a fort not too far from here in Tecpán, just in case. When the Kaqchikel at Iximché finally caught on to what was going on with the Spanish tribute and how the price was going to continue going up forever, they were done. They rebelled. However, there were no Mayans left to stand with them. So in 1530, with no Mayan allies to stand with them, Iximché was conquered. Parts of Iximché were destroyed. The rest of it was abandoned. After the fall of Iximché, the Spanish moved on to what would become the second capital of Guatemala. However, while the Kaqchikel were conquered, they were not destroyed. They are still here. The Quiche are still here. The Zutuhil are still here, defeated, but not gone. They still come to this place to perform ceremonies and sacred rituals. I look forward to meeting their descendants when I get to Lake Atitlan.
Traditional Mayan ceremonies are still practiced at this revered site. Visitors can observe or even participate in these rituals, gaining insight into the profound spiritual heritage of the Mayans. The smoldering indicates I just missed one. They are deeply meaningful events intended to honor Mayan deities, connect with ancestors, and seek blessings for health, protection, and guidance. During the ceremonies, vibrant offerings of flowers, cacao, sugar, incense, cinnamon, and colored candles are carefully arranged and placed into ceremonial fires. Shamans chant prayers and invoke the spirits of ancient Mayan figures in temples, often timing the rituals with the sacred Mayan calendar. The energy of these ceremonies is heightened by the natural surroundings of the site, with its ancient plazas and ruined temples, providing a powerful connection to the past. These events are described as deeply moving and transformative, offering a unique glimpse into the living traditions of Mayan culture.
Of all the things that happened here, or could have happened here, this is the best story, and I'm going to end on it. In 2007, President George W. Bush came here. He was entertained with a ball game, music, and some rituals. And then when he left, Mayan priests and shamans swarmed the place. They performed all kinds of ceremonies to cleanse it of the bad energy. I swear to God, you can't make this stuff up.
This is Iximché, a place where history and mythology intertwine, where the echoes of a vibrant civilization still resonate. It stood as the proud capital of the Kaqchikel Mayans, a place of alliances, betrayals, and resilience. But it's not the ruins or the numbers that drew me here. It's the stories. Stories of creation and destruction, of a civilization grappling with internal conflict, external threats, and the arrival of the Spanish. Iximché isn't just a snapshot of the past. It's a living, breathing testament to Mayan culture, reminding us that history isn't static. It evolves, breathes, and leaves its mark. The Mayans faced conquests and challenges, but their culture endures, a testament to resilience and renewal. So whether you come for the ruins, the stories, or the chance to experience living history, Iximché will leave you in awe. The name may translate into corn tree, but Iximché means so much more. Stay curious, be inspired, find freedom, wander elsewhere. I'll see you in the next one. Would you visit Iximché? Comment below. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more. Tell me your thoughts. Drop a comment or respond to the prompt below.